Have you ever had a neighbor so shameless, so downright disrespectful, that they treated your home like their personal garbage dump? Well, that was my reality. Every single morning, I'd wake up, open my front door, and be greeted not by the smell of fresh cut grass or the quiet peace of the neighborhood, but by steaming piles of dog poop, not from my dog, from hers. Now, if you've ever had someone cross a line like that, you know how it feels. At first, it's disbelief. Did that really just happen? Maybe it was a mistake. Maybe she didn't notice. But then, when it keeps happening again and again, it changes you. The anger doesn't just sit on the surface, it seeps in, it follows you around. You walk out your front door already bracing yourself for the stink, for the humiliation of having your own lawn look like a public bathroom. And here's the kicker, I knew exactly who was doing it. A neighbor down the block, the kind of person who strutted around like she owned the place. People in the neighborhood called her the queen bee, but behind her back, well, let's just say nobody really liked her. Loud, entitled, and with this smug little smirk that made you want to wipe it off her face. And every morning, like clockwork, she'd let her dog squat right on my front yard, leash in hand, pretending like she couldn't see a thing. I tried the polite route. I gave her the benefit of the doubt. Hey, maybe you didn't notice, but your dog, and before I could even finish, she rolled her eyes, and walked away without a word. That's when it hit me. This wasn't an accident. She knew what she was doing, and worse, she thought she could get away with it. Now listen. If you've ever dreamed of seeing karma finally catch up to people like this, then buckle up. Because the revenge I planned, let's just say it turned my front lawn from her dog's bathroom into her personal stage of humiliation, and by the end of this story, the entire neighborhood would know exactly what kind of person she really was. So let me take you back to where it all began. Picture a quiet, suburban neighborhood, kids riding bikes, sprinklers ticking in the distance, the smell of barbecue drifting through the air on weekends. It was the kind of place where everyone waved when they passed by. Except her, she was the dark cloud over an otherwise peaceful street. And every morning while I was sipping coffee and trying to enjoy a moment of calm before the day started, she'd stroll by with her mutt and leave me a little gift right in the middle of my lawn. The first time, I chalked it up to bad luck. The second time, irritation. By the third, fourth, fifth, I started to feel like I was being targeted. Like this was personal, and that's when something in me snapped. Because here's the truth, disrespect like that, it doesn't just sit quietly. It builds, it festers, and sooner or later, it demands payback. And oh, was I about to deliver? At first, I thought maybe I could reason with her. I mean, that's what decent people do, right? You bring up a problem, you talk it through, you find a solution. But you know what happens when you try reasoning with someone who thrives on being entitled? It's like shouting at a brick wall, except the wall rolls its eyes at you and smirks while doing it. The first real confrontation happened on a Tuesday morning. I was heading out to grab the mail, and there she was, standing on my lawn, phone in hand, while her dog squatted like it owned the place. I took a deep breath, walked right up, and said, "Hey, would you mind cleaning that up? It keeps happening, and it's not fair to me." She didn't even look up from her phone. Just tugged the leash and muttered, "Relax, it's just grass. It'll grow back, just grass." Can you imagine? My home, my yard, the one place I actually tried to keep clean and presentable, reduced to just grass. And then she had the nerve to smirk, like she'd won something by brushing me off. That's when I knew she wasn't just careless. She was enjoying this. It was power for her, a game. She'd found her little way to needle me every single day, and my irritation was her entertainment. So I tried my first little act of revenge, nothing too crazy, just a test. I picked up the pile, walked over to her doorstep, and left it neatly on her welcome mat. No note, no words, just a little return to sender. The next morning, I peeked out my window, waiting to see her reaction. Did she scream, slam the door, storm over in a fit of rage? Nope, she kicked it off her porch like it was a pebble and kept walking. Didn't even blink, and that smirk bigger than ever. It wasn't just about the poop anymore, this was about control. About her proving she could walk all over me, literally and figuratively, and I couldn't stop her, and it wasn't just me noticing, either. Slowly, little whispers started drifting around the neighborhood. Mrs. Turner across the street mentioned offhand, "Oh, I've seen her let that dog go on your yard. Thought maybe you didn't mind." Another neighbor laughed awkwardly, "Yeah, she's done it to me too, but what can you do, right?" That's when the bigger picture hit me. She wasn't just targeting me, she was doing this everywhere. My lawn was her favorite, sure, but this woman had made the entire block her dog's toilet. And the worst part? Nobody was calling her out. They just let it happen, swallowing their frustration because they didn't want the drama. Well, I wasn't about to be another silent victim. I tried politeness. I tried a small warning shot, neither worked. And as I sat there, sipping coffee, staring at the fresh mess on my lawn yet again, I realized something. She wasn't going to stop on her own. If I wanted peace, I had to take it, which meant the game was changing. Because if she wanted a battle of control, I was about to show her what real control looked like. After that porch incident, something inside me flipped. I wasn't just annoyed anymore, I was fixated. Every time I saw her stroll past, leash in hand, I felt my chest tighten, my jaw clench. She wasn't just walking her dog, she was walking her ego right across my sanity. The thing about people like her is that they thrive on the silence of others. The more you ignore them, the bolder they get. And now, she was bold, too bold. She didn't even try to be sneaky anymore. Mornings, afternoons, even late at night, she'd wander over like it was her personal park, let her dog do its business, and strut away like a queen leaving her signature behind. I'll admit, I started spiraling a little. Every morning, before brushing my teeth or even turning on the coffee maker, I'd pull back the curtain to check the lawn. Sometimes it was clean, sometimes it wasn't, but either way, I was on edge, waiting, anticipating, living on her schedule. And that realization burned. I wasn't just losing my lawn. I was losing my peace of mind. That's when the shift happened. I told myself, fine, if she wants a game, I'll play, but I don't play to lose. So I started thinking, plotting late at night when the house was quiet. I'd replay every encounter in my head, analyzing her routine like a detective tracking a criminal. What time she usually walked the dog, which side of the yard she preferred, how she always stared at her phone while the dog squatted, like she couldn't be bothered to even pretend to care. And then, one night, the idea hit me, not just a small jab like leaving poop on her porch. No, this had to be bigger, smarter, something she couldn't just shrug off with a smirk, something public. Because here's the truth, people like her don't fear confrontation, they feed off it. What they do fear is exposure, humiliation, losing that little image they project to everyone else. So I thought, what if the neighborhood didn't just whisper about her? What if they saw her for who she really was? That's when the sprinkler ideas started forming. At first, it was just a funny thought. What if, the moment she stepped on my lawn, a perfectly timed jet of water blasted her and her precious phone? I chuckled at the thought, but then I realized, why not? Why not turn her arrogance into the very trap that caught her? I spent the next week preparing, adjusting the sprinkler settings, watching her route more closely than ever, timing everything down to the minute. It felt like I was planning a heist, except instead of breaking in, I was defending what was mine. And in the middle of all this, she gave me even more fuel. One evening, as I pulled into my driveway, there she was again. I rolled down my window and, for the second time, asked her politely, "Could you please pick that up?" She turned, gave me that smug smile, and said, "What's your problem? It's just a dog. Get over it." Then she laughed like I was some uptight fool for caring about basic respect. That laugh sealed it. That was the moment I knew I wasn't just going to get even. I was going to end this, and as I stood there in my driveway, watching her disappear into the distance, I couldn't help but smile. Not the defeated smile I'd worn before, but something darker. Because little did she know, her reign over my lawn was about to come crashing down. And it was going to be glorious. The next morning, I woke up earlier than usual. No coffee, no phone scrolling, no idle routine. Just straight to the window, eyes locked on the street like a soldier waiting for deployment. And right on cue, there she was. Same arrogant strut, same oblivious smirk, same poor dog tugging along. But this time, I wasn't just watching, I was ready. The night before, I had spent hours in my yard, crouched down like some backyard scientist, testing the sprinkler heads. Adjusting pressure, angling them just right, setting the timer for maximum precision. I'd even practiced with a stopwatch in hand, counting the steps it took her dog to reach that spot she always favored. It felt ridiculous, like I was planning a military operation just to stop a dog from pooping on my lawn. But when you're pushed far enough, even the pettiest war starts to feel justified. And when she stepped onto my grass, my heart skipped. My hand hovered over the switch I'd rigged to override the timer. My palms were sweating, adrenaline buzzing in my ears. This was it. Months of irritation, nights of planning, all leading to this moment. The dog squatted. She looked down at her phone. Click, the sprinkler hissed to life, not with a gentle mist, but with a full-powered blast. Water arced through the air in perfect timing, hitting both the dog and her legs in one merciless jet. She jumped back, shrieking, clutching her phone to her chest as her designer sneakers squelched in the mud. The dog barked and scrambled, completely confused, while she let out a string of curses loud enough for half the street to hear. And me, I was behind the curtain, biting down so hard on my fist to keep from laughing out loud that I nearly left teeth marks. She spun around, dripping wet, scanning the street like the sprinkler had personally insulted her. Then, as if nothing had happened, she yanked her dog's leash and stormed off, muttering under her breath. I thought maybe that would be enough. Maybe she'd get the hint. Maybe the humiliation of being ambushed by a lawn sprinkler would finally drive her away. But of course, she came back. Later that week, same time, same spot, except this time, she hesitated at the edge of my lawn, like she knew something was off. She even leaned down to touch the grass as if testing for danger. And I'll give her this, she was stubborn. She tugged her dog forward anyway, glancing around nervously, probably thinking the sprinkler attack had been a fluke. So I waited. The dog squatted again. She pulled out her phone. Click. Another jet of water exploded upward, this time hitting her square in the back. She screamed and stumbled forward, soaking her expensive coat. Her dog bolted, nearly yanking the leash from her hand. But here's the kicker. This time, a couple of neighbors were outside. An older man across the street, watering his flowers, froze mid-spray. A jogger slowed down, pulling out her earbuds. And they saw everything her, on my lawn, the dog doing its business. The sprinkler soaking her like some slapstick comedy routine. The neighbors' faces said it all. Surprise first, then realization, then barely hidden laughter. She noticed too, her cheeks turned crimson, not from the cold water, but from something worse, exposure. Because humiliation in private, you can shrug it off. But humiliation in public, that lingers. She yanked her hood over her head and stomped off, water dripping in her wake. From my window, I finally let the laughter out. A deep, unrestrained laugh that echoed through the quiet of my house. But even as I laughed, I knew it wasn't over. Because people like her, they don't surrender, they retaliate. And sure enough, over the next few days, I noticed her trying to outsmart me. She'd cross the street, loop around, even drag her poor dog into other people's yards, but always circling back toward mine, as if she couldn't stand to lose. It had become a battle of wills, a silent war between my planning and her pride. And while I had won the first few rounds, I could feel it. She wasn't done, but neither was I. If she wanted to keep testing me, fine. I was just getting started. Because the real trap, the final act of revenge, that was still waiting in the shadows. By this point, the neighborhood war had taken on a life of its own. She wasn't just a dog owner anymore, she was the villain. The one who kept sneaking back, daring me to outplay her, acting like she owned every blade of grass she stepped on. And me, I wasn't just some irritated homeowner. I was the man behind the curtain, tweaking, adjusting, plotting like some low-budget Bond villain with a sprinkler system instead of a laser beam. But here's the truth, I was tired of the small wins. A quick soaking here, a little embarrassment there, it was fun, sure, but it wasn't enough. She was still walking that same dog, still acting untouchable, still refusing to learn. And that's when it hit me. If humiliation in private made her squirm, and humiliation in public made her blush, then the only way to truly end this was to make the whole neighborhood see who she really was. So I spent the next week perfecting my trap. Not just the sprinklers, no, that was child's play. I bought a motion-activated camera, small, discreet, nearly invisible, and pointed it directly at her favorite drop zone. Then I tweaked the sprinkler system again, but this time, instead of a quick spray, I programmed it for maximum chaos, to different sprinkler heads, angled to cross streams, so that anyone caught in the middle would be hit from both sides. The result, a soaking zone. No escape, no dry patch, no mercy, the stage was set. And like clockwork, the villain showed up. She strutted down the sidewalk with that same smug attitude, tugging her reluctant dog along. This time, though, there was a crowd, a group of kids riding bikes, a couple of neighbors trimming hedges, and even a family unloading groceries. The street was alive, buzzing, perfect. She didn't notice, of course, she never did. She stepped onto my grass, let her dog wander, and pulled out her phone. Same old script. But this time, I was ready to rewrite the ending. Click. The sprinklers roared to life like twin cannons. Water blasted in from both sides, drenching her from head to toe in seconds. She shrieked, spinning in place, trying to dodge, but every move put her deeper into the crossfire. Her dog barked, tangled in the leash, adding to the chaos. The neighbors froze, and then the laughter started. I swear it was like a wave rippling through the street. The kids on bikes howled, one of them nearly toppling over from laughing so hard. The grocery family stopped mid-unload, clutching bags to their chests, wide-eyed and giggling. Even the old man with the watering can had to lean on his fence for support. She wasn't just wet, she was destroyed. Her carefully styled hair plastered to her head, her makeup streaking, her designer clothes sagging like a drowned rat. And the best part, my camera caught everything. Every step, every shriek, every second of her thrashing humiliation was locked in crisp, high-definition glory. She stumbled off my lawn, dripping and furious, barking something about lawsuits and harassment, but it didn't matter. Nobody was on her side anymore, not after they'd seen what she was doing. Not after they'd witnessed the truth with their own eyes, and me, I didn't need to say a word. The footage spoke for itself. I quietly shared it with a few neighbors, just enough to make sure it would spread like wildfire. Within a day, everyone on the block knew her reputation. By the end of the week, she wasn't just that woman with the dog, she was the neighborhood joke, the punchline to every conversation. The final nail in the coffin came a few days later, when she started walking her dog on a completely different street. She couldn't show her face anymore, not here, not after that, and I'll be honest. Standing there, watching her slink away for the last time, I felt a strange kind of satisfaction. Not joy exactly, not triumph, something deeper, like justice had finally been served, one jet of water at a time. After that day, something shifted in the neighborhood. You could feel it in the air, like the tension had been cut with a knife. People weren't glancing at their lawns nervously anymore, or whispering about the poop problem. They were smiling, nodding, even stopping me to laugh about that sprinkler incident. The villain of our block wasn't a problem anymore. She was a cautionary tale. Her dog walk stopped on our street entirely. She never knocked on my door, never threatened me again. And if she saw me across town, she suddenly found something very interesting on her phone to stare at. It was over, but here's the funny thing. When it ended, I didn't feel like some triumphant war hero. I didn't feel like I'd won. I felt calm, peaceful, even. Because it wasn't about revenge anymore. Not really, it was about respect. About reminding someone who thought they were untouchable that rules matter. That other people matter, that you can't just stomp across someone's life and expect no pushback. The sprinklers, the cameras, the humiliation, those were just the tools. The real victory was knowing I stood up for myself, and for everyone else who was too polite, too scared, or too tired to fight back. And maybe that's what revenge really is at its best. Not cruelty, not endless back and forth battles, but balance, a way of saying enough. You don't get to keep winning at other people's expense. To this day, I still catch neighbors chuckling about it. Sometimes, when I'm adjusting my sprinklers or mowing the lawn, a kid rides by on his bike and calls out, "Hey, remember when you blasted that lady off your grass?" And we laugh because that's what it became. Not bitterness, not anger, but a story. A legend on our little street, and the best part? My lawn has never been cleaner. No more messes, no more drama, just green grass, quiet mornings, and a neighborhood that finally feels like home again. So if you ever find yourself staring down at a problem that feels unfair, and the world shrugs its shoulders like you're overreacting, remember this: sometimes justice doesn't come with a gavel. Sometimes it comes with a garden hose, a bit of creativity, and the courage to stand your ground. And when it does, oh, trust me, it's beautiful.